Fresh off of the Caliente Clover Creek win, Axel Pearson has decided that it is now about 50 hours and we're going to put a new piston in this thing. This one is the bike that he raced all of last year too. It's a 22 YZ450f. Before we tear it down all the way, we're going to make sure that we can see how many hours are actually on this thing. We're going to connect it to the Yamaha Power Tuner app on our phone, do a leak down test on it, and then start tearing her down. So to get the Power Tuner app to work, we need to first get his serial number off of it. Total hours is 90 hours, 26 minutes. So we use a big zip tie just to get it to top dead center, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to notice it. If you're gonna use one, make sure you do it big enough that it's not gonna fall in the hole. I mean, I guess we're taking it apart anyways, but don't be that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And we use a Motion Pro leak down tester. So the hose screws right into the spark plug hole and it goes right into the adapter, and we're going to fill the cylinder full of air, and it actually measures how much goes past the rings. If the valves aren't sealing, we'll be able to tell kind of how healthy this engine is. So our gauge right now, we're going to throw 80 PSI in it. 100? Yep, 100% leakage. So we're 180 out. So we're going to spin this engine over, disconnect it again, and try again. Hold it open while you try to at least. 7.1. So according to Motion Pro, in their box with the gauge, it says our 6 to 14 engine is in good condition. Proceed with tune-up or adjustments as planned. Still a pretty good solid piston in this thing, but it has hard hours on it. So we're gonna tear it down, see if there's any Teflon still left on the cylinder, kind of measure the cylinder and make sure when we give it a hone that everything is symmetrical in there. And we use precision hones. That way it's not just polishing the cylinder, it's actually doing something and straightening it out. And that could be why that it's still running such good leak down, because we properly did the top end the first time on this thing. The last one that we put in there is June 20th of 23. It's in July right now, so it just has a full year of racing on it. Crazy. Even with that Chirby skid plate, this water pump Y is all cracked and destroyed. But that's why for the ISDE bike we put the Samco hoses on there, so that way it eliminated all of this type of damage that can happen by just making it a single hose that plugged in. Jeez, Teflon's all still there. We'll get the valves pulled out too, check to see if all the coating's still there, if everything's still good, see how good of a vacuum seal that they get. But everything in this looks pretty clean. Still see cross hatching from our rigid hone. Cylinder's good. We'll throw another hone in it for another 50 hours. So pretty tight. Hard to focus in on it, but you can see the cross hatches in there. Had pretty good success with all the Vertex stuff besides the hot cams chain. We actually had one on a Yamaha stretch out to where it hit the valves, and it only had about 5 hours on it. So we'll stick with the OEM one for that stuff and just use their piston and gasket set. And you'll get guys in the comments who are like, oh, Vertex is junk. Well, made this bike a lot of money last year, so squaring up the compression rings so that way we can figure out how much the ring end gap is. Inside the box they'll give you a spec for it. It says on our 4-stroke engines we want a minimum of 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters of gap. So on our intake valve clearance needs to be between 0.1 and 0.17, and we're at 0.125, still in the middle. Exhaust is supposed to be between 0.15 and 0.122, and it's 0.175. So pretty much the valves have not moved in the whole year of racing that we've been putting this bike through all the abuse. It's also a lot easier to check it on the bench than it is on the bike. Just get everything torqued up and get it here ready for install, and then we don't have to touch it again.
Push it in on that side. Almost.
Great success.